The explosion of a 1 megaton bomb over Bristol would kill 100,000 people immediately. It would destroy British aerospace at Filton, Avonmouth Docks, Bristol Airport and the Almondsbury Motorway Interchange. Yet a few miles away, beyond Bath, nearly 13,000 people could be living underground 100 feet below the village of Gastard. It's not an official public shelter, nor would the majority inside be local people. But here in the underground caverns below Gastard, according to experts, they could survive the initial effects of a nuclear attack. The 41 acres of ventilated tunnels once used to house huge amounts of ammunition. Now they've been bought by a Jersey-based investment company for around £500,000. If North Wiltshire District Council agree to the planning application, these caverns will be turned into a self-sufficient sanctuary for those who can afford it. A family of 4 would pay £8,000 for a unit the size of a double bedroom. If every place is taken, the company will collect £21 million. For that, everything would be supplied. Power would come from a generator that's still in working order. The company behind the scheme is called Duvain Investments. Their project has already been nicknamed Doom City. Duvain's directors expect to recruit up to 2,000 specialists, from technicians and doctors to sportsmen and teachers. They'll be given free apartments in return for helping to make life in the shelters as normal and as comfortable as possible. Duvain director Maureen Whittard has spent weeks setting up the project, together with the man who has the job of converting the tunnels, technical director Erin Bauer. Special precautions will be needed for moving nearly 13,000 people underground in the shortest possible time. Suits that are claimed to provide protection against nuclear fallout will be waiting for them. Protective clothing and equipment is essential and expensive, as the company is quick to point out. But the biggest problem may well be the tenants themselves. Duvain believe they'll have time to get here, even if they live in the southeast, from where most of the inquiries have come so far. The company is expecting a period of international tension to act as a warning of a nuclear attack. But before their clients make for the shelters, there's still plenty of work left to be done.
On the surface behind me, we're going to build a decontamination bay, so people coming into this site, park their vehicles, walk into a decontam bay. They're identified off their files, so we know actually who they are. We've got their personal details. If there's any form of contamination, they strip their clothing off. They're issued with new clothing or paper clothing. They then decontaminate. They're completely clean by that stage. They go through the decontamination lobby, down the slope shaft as we saw. It's very, very carefully planned psychologically, and mainly you've got to move a lot of people very quickly, and someone might be contaminated, so a lot of care is going to be taken to handle it.
The residents of Gastard are even more concerned about Britain's largest nuclear shelter taking shape next to, and in some cases underneath, their homes. One of the leaders of their action committee is John Friend, who claims he's got nearly 100% local support for his opposition to the Duvain project. Mr. Friend, what's the main worry of the village about this plan?
Well, we don't think... we're not so worried about a nuclear attack, because I think we all agree that there will be no survivors, even if they're underground. With 5,000 cars coming up and down this road and all descending on this one area, the whole area is going to come to a standstill. They'll have to check people's papers or documents or whatever to make sure that they're the correct people to get down. The people who are waiting to go down are obviously going to abandon the cars, and the whole area will come to a standstill. So if, like me, I would like to get home and perhaps die with my family, I couldn't even do that because the roads around here will be at a complete standstill.
How are you going to prevent people who haven't paid to stay here coming along when an attack occurs?
Well, I hope we have the most up-to-date security, which will prevent them.
But how will you prevent them? I mean, won't you have to use armed guards?
Will the government use armed guards to stop us getting down their shelters?
But if you get besieged by several thousand people who are determined to survive, who are very frightened, who are panic-stricken perhaps, you'll have to do something like that, surely.
No, we will have security within security.
What does that mean exactly?
Electronic fences and security within security. We will have the most up-to-date equipment there is.
Would you be using things like CS gas, for example?
I hope not.
Would you have it ready in case you had to?
I think that is a question, really. Yes, I've got to be honest. If it had to be used, it would be.
Can they legally in this country have armed guards? I don't think they can. No one can have a private army, I believe. And if they did, imagine, I mean, it's not just people in this immediate area. It's people from Bath, Melksham, Chippenham, Trowbridge, would all try to get down there. In any rural area, people have shotguns at least. So, you know, what are they going to use? They would need several thousand men to keep away several 100,000 that would try to get down there.
Firms like this one at Wells in Somerset offer experience stretching back to the last war with the construction of shelters and gun mounts for the armed forces. Now the sites where they turn out precast, pre-stressed concrete products can be transformed almost overnight into factories for making shelters. More than 5 years ago, Managing Director John Blatchford began his research into the sort of shelters needed for the nuclear age. With assistance from the Home Office and the Ministry of Defence, his firm now have the plans and equipment to produce 3 types, from the small family unit like this costing between £5,000 and £10,000, up to a shelter big enough to take whole communities. Inside, there's room for a family of 2 adults and 2 children. At this early stage, it's equipped with only basic experimental furniture, but already it's constructed like a fortress.
Around the edge of the pressure door, we've got our gas seals. On this door, we've got 2 seals to give us 2 lines of defence, because we regard the threat of gas attack as quite a high priority.
What makes you think that?
I'd rather not say.
You're pretty sure, though, that gas might play a big part in an attack?
Yes, well, our forces are trained to resist it.
What else is the door designed to resist?
This particular door here weighs something over half a ton. It's got over 150 millimetres thickness of reinforced concrete on the outside, a space, and then a steel plate. So you've got the effect of a certain amount of spaced armour.
What will that protect you against?
That's to prevent chips. If you had just a concrete door and you had any impact on the outside, you could get chips flying off, injuring people inside. And you could get an impact from either small arms or from blast.
Why would you expect small arms fire to be involved?
Well, we're designing this as a fortress. Some people want it like that.
So that they're immune from attack from who?
I don't know.
I mean, is it their neighbours trying to get in, or...?
Anybody with small arms.
They really do want that, do they?
Some people have told us they do, yes. Sufficient to make it worth our while investigating it.
High-flown claims in advertisements for shelters have already led to complaints to the Advertising Standards Authority. 2 of those complaints have been upheld, one against a Bristol company. According to the ASA, the advertisements made highly speculative and unprovable claims about the protection that some nuclear shelters could give.
Well, in this particular case, this is a new area. It's an area in which people are very scared of the possible consequences of a nuclear war, and so they are easily exploited by inaccuracies and by appeals to their very natural sensitivities about their family's future and so forth.
What particularly worries you about the adverts you've seen?
Well, they tended to do 2 things. The first was they tended to promise more than they could deliver. That is to say, they assured your family's safety in the event of an attack, which obviously they can't do. And secondly, they appealed on the basis of fear, which is something that our code forbids. So I think that we did have to call a halt, otherwise we'd have had an explosion. I might call it a mushroom of these companies all over the place.
One alternative is the government's own survival scheme.
If you leave your home, your local authority may take it over for homeless families. And if you move, the authorities in the new place will not help you with food, accommodation, or other essentials. You are better off in your own home. Stay there.